most unforgettable day of the year. A message from the Government of Canada.
On November 11th, Canadians across the country will pause to recognize Remembrance Day. Today, families will gather at cenotaphs and memorials. Students will recite in Flanders Fields, and we will all wear the poppy as a pledge to remember our heroes. Throughout every chapter of our history, Canadian Armed Forces members have served Canada with exceptional dedication. Through 2 world wars and the Korean War, on United Nations and NATO missions, in Afghanistan, and on operations around the world, our military members have put service before self, and many have made the ultimate sacrifice. We will never forget their contributions to Canada. To the Canadian Armed Forces members deployed at home and around the world, Canadians are grateful to every single one of you. And when a family in the Northwest Territories needs to be evacuated because of devastating wildfires, you've been there. When a community in Nova Scotia is left isolated after a hurricane, you're there. And when our friends in the Ukraine seek our help, we have been there to train them with the skills that they need to defend their freedom and independence. No matter the risk, no matter the danger, you answer the call for service. We will always do whatever it takes to support you and your families. And today, I encourage all Canadians to take a moment to reflect. Let us remember our fallen heroes and tell their stories to a new generation. And let us remember to say thank you. Thank you for fighting so that we can live in peace and in prosperity. Thank you for your service and your sacrifice, for representing the very best of Canada. We are grateful, and we always will be. Lest we forget, thank you. Merci beaucoup.
Staff, students, and honored guests. My name is Bryn Nowitzki. I'm a grade 12 student here at Sir Wilfrid Laurier Secondary School. Good morning and welcome to our school's Remembrance Day ceremony. If you have not done so already, please turn off all electronic devices. Every year, on November 11th, Canadians pause to remember. On November 11th, 1918, the guns fell silent to mark the end of the Great War. The 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month was chosen so that no one would ever forget the sacrifice. Many who fought for Canada were our age. Their plans for the future were as bright as ours. They attended school, played sports, and enjoyed the company of their friends. They served in the Boer War, in World Wars I and II, in the Korean War, in Afghanistan, and many other combat and peacekeeping operations. Over 100,000 Canadians never returned home from these conflicts. Many are still buried far from home. During this ceremony, we will remember those who left their homes, friends, and loved ones to fight for our freedom. We will especially honor those who made the ultimate sacrifice.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jordan Pemberton. I am a grade 11 student at Sir Wilfrid Laurier Secondary School. I would like to share the story of Major John McCrae, the Canadian who wrote In Flanders Fields. He was born in Guelph, Ontario, and became an officer in the Canadian Medical Corps. His best friend, Alexis Helmer, lived in Ottawa and attended Lisgar Collegiate. The two men served together in South Africa during the Boer War and in Belgium during the Great War. Sadly, Alexis Helmer was killed by an artillery shell during the Second Battle of Ypres in 1915. Major McCrae wrote In Flanders Fields after performing a burial service for his friend. His simple poem became a universal tribute to those who made the supreme sacrifice in the line of duty. Major McCrae died of pneumonia in 1918 and was buried with full military honors at Wimereux Cemetery in France. At the funeral procession, his horse, Bonfire, wore his master's boots backwards in military tradition. John McCrae is remembered as a person with the eye of a gunner, the hand of a surgeon, and the soul of a poet. Bryn will now give a reading of his famous poem.
Thank you, Jordan. In Flanders Fields by John McCrae. In Flanders Fields, the poppies blow, between the crosses, row on row, that mark our place, and in the sky, the larks, still bravely singing, fly. Scarce heard amid the guns below, we are the dead, short days ago. We lived, felt dawn, saw sunset glow, loved and were loved, and now we lie in Flanders Fields. Take up our quarrel with the foe, to you from failing hands we throw the torch. Be yours to hold it high, if ye break faith with us who die. We shall not sleep, though poppies grow, in Flanders Fields.
Bryn, thank you very much for your heartfelt reading. We will now lay ceremonial wreaths on behalf of the student body. We invite you to listen to Canada's first national anthem, The Maple Leaf Forever, played by Piper Mr. Jim Forbes. Mr. Forbes?
Today in Canada, we enjoy freedoms and privileges that are truly remarkable. We can travel, spend time with friends and family, play sports, watch movies, play video games, go to school, almost anything imaginable. Canada is one of the happiest countries on earth, and it has one of the highest qualities of life in the world. Sadly, in many other countries around the globe, people are not as fortunate. Some kids cannot go to school. There are some places with no internet and little access to anything fun at all. In Canada, we have so much to be thankful for. These freedoms, which we enjoy every day, but many others do not have, were not granted by accident. On several occasions in the last century, Canadian military left our country for overseas to defend our values and freedoms. Most notably, this occurred during the First World War, 1914 to 1918, the Second World War, 1939 to 1945, and the Korean War, 1950 to 1953. In addition, Canadian military has participated in many operations and campaigns since then as a founding member of the United Nations and as a member of several freedom-preserving alliances in order to defend Canadian freedoms and work toward achieving global peace. Many Canadian military and their families have made great sacrifices in these events so that we can be here today, enjoying all the beautiful things that Canada has to offer. We should be very thankful. On 11 November, it is important to reflect on these sacrifices and remember the Canadian military who gave up so much so that we could have all the things that we have today. So on that day, I ask that you consider wearing a poppy as a sign of respect. At 11 o'clock, I ask that we join the moment of silence and quietly thank these brave men and women. I ask that if you see a veteran, to thank them for their service. And finally, I ask that as time marches on, we do not forget them. Indeed, lest we forget.
We now invite you to listen to Nimrod, a musical selection by the Sir Will Concert Band, directed by Ms. Shrum. Ms. Shrum?
Thank you, Ms. Schrum. On November 11th, 1918, the guns fell silent to mark the end of the Great War. It's a Canadian tradition to be silent for 2 minutes, a pittance of time on Remembrance Day. Please give your attention as we observe a musical tribute by Terrence Kelly to that tradition.
Good morning, shoppers. At 11 o'clock on this 11th day of November, we'd like to invite you to share with us 2 minutes of silence in honor of our veterans.
They fought and some died for their homeland. They fought and some died, now it's our land. Look at his little child, there's no fear in her eyes. Could he not show respect for other dads who have died? Take 2 minutes, would you mind? It's a pittance of time for the boys and the girls who went over. In peace may they rest, may we never forget why they died. It's a pittance of time. God forgive me for wanting to strike him. Give me strength so as not to be like him. My heart pounds in my breast, fingers pressed to my lips. My throat wants to bawl out, my tongue barely resists. But 2 minutes I will bide. It's a pittance of time for the boys and the girls who went over. In peace may they rest, may we never forget why they died. It's a pittance of time. Read the letters and poems of the heroes at home. They have casualties, battles, and fears of their own. There's a price to be paid if you go, if you stay. Freedom's fought for and won in numerous ways. Take 2 minutes, would you mind? It's a pittance of time for the boys and the girls all over. May we never forget our young become vets at the end of the line. It's a pittance of time. It takes courage to fight in your own war. It takes courage to fight someone else's war. Our peacekeepers tell of their own living hell. They bring hope to foreign lands that hate mongers can't kill. Take 2 minutes, would you mind? It's a pittance of time for the boys and the girls who go over. In peacetime our best still don battle dress and lay their lives on the line. It's a pittance of time. In peace may they rest, lest we forget why they died. Take a pittance of time.
We will now hear the playing of the last post. Observe 2 minutes of silence and hear Flowers of the Forest, a lament played by Piper Mr. Jim Forbes. We ask that you stand for the last post and remain silent for 2 minutes, a pittance of time until Mr. Forbes has finished playing. Please stand.
We ask that all Sirwell staff, students, and guests please be seated. We need to recognize our piper, Mr. Jim Forbes, from the Sons of Scotland and the Cameron Highlanders. He has been piping for the Sirwell Remembrance Day ceremony for 23 years, and he's an integral part of the school culture. Thanks to our guest speaker, Lieutenant Colonel Jeffrey Manley. The message from all veterans and current Canadian Armed Forces members is never forget, and we must listen to their wisdom.
Thanks to Ms. Shrum and the concert band for the superb performance of Nimrod. We thank Mr. Monar, who used his formidable time management skills to tape, edit, and create this presentation. Congratulations to all Sirwell students on your fine behavior this morning. You have been quiet, courteous, and respectful. Best wishes for continued success in the school year. We invite all staff and students to return to their educational activities. Thank you and have a great day.